I hereby introduce to you Mr. Michael Veazey.
Today's episode is brought to you by the 10K Collective. The 10K Collective is a collection of men and women who are doing at least $25,000 a month on Amazon in the UK, US, Europe, doesn't matter, but that is the figure as a minimum. Now, why that figure? Because it means you get to meet with like-minded people who are serious about Amazon, who are doing well, and who are ambitious to do better rather than knocking around with newbies, which isn't going to help you if you want to scale up from 6 figures a month to 7 figures or whatever you're ambitious to do, 4 to 5 figures. We have people who are doing up to around the $250,000 a month mark. And as I say, the lowest is 25K. So it's still quite a big spread, but we have amazing things that get shared. You will get 30 minutes each, minimum of 20, 25, even in a really busy month. And there's only 8 to 12 people at any given meeting. So what do we cover in the meetings? Well, we cover topics from how to stay in stock, make more money by not missing out and not being out of stock, dominating a market and the mindset needed, handling whole container loads, how to predict stock needed, for example, how to get a product on primetime British TV for free, as one of our members did back at Halloween last year. So these are not prescribed by me, and it's not a set course. It is simply what comes up, what you need to handle right now to move your business forward. It's very simple, robust format. It's doing really well. We've got great loyalty from the members. I think out of 10 people that have joined it so far, about 8 are still with us after several months, which is a real testament to the fact that they're getting value and there's a great feel of community and we have a lot of fun. We take business seriously, but we also try not to take ourselves too seriously. We have a lot of fun. We're very open and we have a lot of serious debates that actually result in people doing stuff and taking action, like opening up in America, like going to Germany, like, doubling their orders. I mean, serious action takes place as a result of these meetings, and it's also good fun. You'll need to be able to get to London, as well as doing 25,000 a month minimum, roughly in dollars, and it's application only. So if you want to check that out, go to amazingfba.com/mastermind. Make sure you click through to the 10K Collective page rather than applying for the Zero to Hero Mastermind, which is just for those who are just starting out. Thanks very much for listening. Now, on with the show. Hello, welcome back to Amazing FBA. This is your host, Michael Veazey, and today I want to address entrepreneurial mindset. One of the parts of that is how to deal with overwhelm. We've got a helpful 10-step process, and a list of 10 are deeply popular in the internet, and they still are. And you know what? When I see a podcast with a list of 5 or 7, it still attracts me. So hey, let's go with that. First thing to say, number 1, is accept you'll have periods of overwhelm. It's normal. In fact, I would say it's probably a sign of growth. If you're ambitious, you're probably going to bite off more than you can chew at certain points, and then you're going to have to learn to handle that. And that's actually part of becoming an entrepreneur, and it forces you actually to deal with it, that when you hit your limitations, it forces you to redo things, recalibrate, do lots of different things. Which is all good. So it's going to force you to do the other 9 things on this list, which is very good because that'll make you a better entrepreneur and, if you like, a fitter human being in some ways. Talking of fitness, number 2, I would say reset your brain or rest your brain via your body. And the easiest way to change your moods and your mindset is through the body. Exercise is really, really important. I've mentioned it before and I'll say it again. Most famous entrepreneur probably in Britain, Richard Branson, was once asked by somebody what his advice was to improve productivity, and he simply said, work out. And he's a man who practices what he preaches there. He swims around Necker Island, his own private island, before breakfast. Now, there's a bit of a connection between being able to swim around your island at the age of 65, 70, whatever he is now, and owning one. I'm not saying physical exercise is enough to become an entrepreneur and rich, but it's certainly part of the mix. And when you are an internet-based entrepreneur, especially a solopreneur, means you're on your own, sitting behind a computer, this is not great for you. It's very proven that if you sit for over 6 hours a day, you will have a 40-50% increased risk of stroke or heart attack, which is not fun. So don't sit at your desk all day in front of a computer. The other thing is to say, of course, rest is very important. If you're not getting enough rest and you're burning the midnight oil, sometimes you're going to have a period like that. And I've just had one because I've been busy trying to work very hard to bring out the Amazing FBA private label process course, which I'm very, very happy to say we've got the beta course out. And by the way, if you wanted to check that out, we've got a couple of places left. We're only open 10 places and 8 of them sold within 24 hours, which is fantastic. That's at amazingfba.com/PLP. P for private, L for label, and P for process. So amazingfba.com/PLP. Quick plug. But the point is, I've been working very, very hard to create that, to market it. And now, of course, I've got to create the rest of it. I've done up to module 6 and I've got to get the rest of it in. I'm feeling overwhelmed. And that's partly because I've been pushing myself to work till 2 in the morning and then getting up at 8 in the morning. And, you can do that for 4 days in a row, maybe. And then the 5th day you crash. That's okay. So you can't avoid physical necessity. The other thing is food. Obviously, if you eat trash for a few days, you're not going to be very productive. It's kind of obvious. The sort of thing your mum would say to you. Sadly, it's still true. So that's point number 2, reset your brain via your body. Number 3, talking of being a person stuck behind your computer on your own, that's really not good for you. In fact, I would say isolation is a dream killer. I can't remember who said that, but it's very, very true. So really important to connect with people who get it, who understand your passion for building a business. Your partner may not understand it. Your colleagues at work may not understand it. In fact, you may not be in a position to share with your colleagues at work that you're building a business. It might be inappropriate or a bad idea, get you fired. It's even more important then to find other people. So in order of preference, the first and best place to be is a physical mastermind of your peers, people at the same kind of level as you. If you're selling over $25,000 a month equivalent, then you might be eligible for the 10K Collective Mastermind that I run. For other people, I run the Zero to Hero Mastermind. If you want to check those out, by the way, amazingfba.com/mastermind. But it doesn't have to be mine. It doesn't matter whose it is, but you need to be part of a group. I really don't know many online entrepreneurs who are not part of a group who are successful. I think it's so important. I met a guy the other day. He's doing millions a year in turnover. And he said, the one thing he regrets is not joining masterminds sooner. So I would understand that. I personally am a member of masterminds. I also have a mentor that can be really, really helpful. It's expensive. If you wanted to explore working with me, then you're going to need to have some turnover or at least be just about to launch a product. If you want to check that out, you can go to amazingfba.com and check that out there. Physical meetups are helpful even if you don't have a mastermind. They can keep you excited. They're not going to give you that same level of connection that you're going to get there. An online mastermind is good, better than nothing, but we all spend too much time on our screen. So I think ultimately if you can get offline, that's good. And then the last thing, better than nothing, a Facebook group. Depends who it is. If it's a Facebook group of people who are well selected and following the same course as you, that's quite powerful. If it's a bunch of people from the ether, not so good, but better than nothing for sure. So connect with people. Number 4, reset your goals. Remind yourself why you're in the swamp. Dan Kennedy, who is really a bit of a marketing guru and direct response marketing, I would say specifically. He's a pre-internet as well as internet era guy, responsible for so many key concepts that have been filtering down through into the internet marketing universe for the past, since it's existed, the past, whatever it is, 30 years now. But one of the things he says is when you get in the swamp, you're so busy fighting alligators and running scared of the alligators or swimming away from them, you forget why you got in the first place. And that's to get across the swamp in order to get your goal. I mean, I don't know why you'd want to get in a swamp anyway, but this is a metaphor that I'm possibly stretching too far. The point is, we're in the middle of working really, really hard for a reason. And you've got to remind yourself what you're aiming at for multiple reasons. Number 1, it gives you the motivation and it gets you going again. Why am I doing this? The second thing is tapping into your why just gets you in touch with not just a deeper motivation, but a deeper purpose in life. Why does this matter more than just money, I would suggest as well. So the other thing about resetting your goals is that Number 5, you need to set first things first. And if you don't remember what you're aiming at, it's hard to know what is first and what is second, what is important, what is unimportant. So the old Eisenhower 2x2 matrix is very, very good. So, for example, the classic way of doing it is you have a 2x2 grid. The top left-hand quadrant is for important and urgent things, which is a category 1 thing, putting out major fires. Category 2 is important and not urgent stuff. Category 3 is urgent but not important. For example, emails you need to get back to somebody quickly, but it's not really going to change your business. And category 4 is for stuff that's not urgent and not important. So mostly time wasting, like watching YouTube or whatever. Now, no sane person is going to actually plan to do category 4 stuff. But actually, if you monitor yourself for a day and you find yourself doing Facebook and YouTube, especially Facebook, it's so easy to think that it's important when it isn't. Then that's an easy way to make sure you cut out some wasted time. You'll find that you probably gain a couple of hours a week and maybe a day if you're really inefficient, which will really, really help. The other thing, though, is to just be very careful with your category 1 stuff, which is urgent and important. So you let stuff get to the point where urgency acts on you, and other people are emailing you going, for example, your supplier's emailing you going, I need to ship this stuff off. Have you got an inspection arranged yet? Or you've got Amazon suspending your account because you've done something terribly wrong with your products, which you could have caught earlier in the process, like having good quality control so that you don't send trash out to your customers, for example. So having too much category 1 stuff that is urgent and important stuff is normally a sign that you have not been working systematically on important stuff so that you get it dealt with before it becomes urgent. So the 6th point is really, really important and easy to overlook, but easy to get right. So this is a fantastic win. If you take nothing else from this, take this. Here it is. Simply schedule time for important but not yet urgent tasks. If it's important and it doesn't get done, at some point it's going to become a major crisis, i.e. very urgent. And a lot of us manage by crisis, and I'm afraid that I'm sometimes one of those people. Maybe it's an artistic kind of type personality thing to do. I'm imperfect, but it's definitely worth getting ahead of. I would say specifically 1 hour to 4 hours per day is ideal. If you're working at your business full time, which I appreciate is a luxury a lot of people don't have in the early days, then if you're working at full time, then 4 hours a day, really. So block out the morning or the evening or whatever it is. And you'll quite often find that if you are an early morning person, you want to get up at 5 in the morning and work between, say, 6 and 10 a.m. and then start answering the phone and the email and all the nonsense that comes in. And you'll find your day gets taken over by other people's agenda for your time, which is okay as long as you've got your most important thing done first. If you're an evening person, you're a night owl like I am, maybe it's when your wife and kids go to bed or whatever your personal arrangements are, and you stick the dog in the kennel and the kids in the bed, and between 10 p.m. and say midnight or whatever, you work 2 hours. Maybe if you're working a day job, for example, that might be your routine. Whatever it is, even an hour a day, if it's really dedicated only to the most important task of the day, then that can really, really get you ahead. This is the most important thing that I ever find really changes my life. Not easy to have the discipline, so don't beat yourself up if you don't get this right straight away, but just make sure you really do your very, very, very best to schedule every single day like that, every single work day. Number 7, prioritize ruthlessly, which goes back with the other stuff, right? If you actually let unimportant stuff get ahead of important stuff because somebody else is throwing their toys out of the pram on an email, then you'll find you never actually get ahead very quickly with your important tasks, and you'll find that suddenly you're behind and then you feel overwhelmed. And I certainly have this happen to me all the time. So, I'm not sitting on the top of the mountain preaching down at you. I'm there. I'm in the trenches beside you, my friend. I get it. And I'm sure there are many people who are more efficient and more effective than I am, but I get stuff done eventually. It costs me sometimes, and I think it could cost me a bit less if I personally followed this more. So just be ruthless. Ruthless, by the way, it has a bad rep as a word. Ruthless sounds a bit like you're a kind of monster, but actually ruth comes from the word reut, which is the German for regret. So ruthless just means no regrets. Yeah, just make a decision and get on with it. That is good entrepreneurial behavior. Number 8, simplify. This is another incredibly powerful one. Just ask yourself a simple question. How can I simplify this and still get 80% of the result that I wanted? Okay, really powerful. If you're overwhelmed, you have to cut things down. You have to let some things go. You're going to have to simplify anyway. So rather than try and be perfect and then end up failing, why not be good enough and end up getting it done, right? That doesn't mean that you should set your standards really, really low. And what does good enough mean in a different context? That depends on the context. For example, if you're sending an internal email to your staff, you don't need to format it beautifully. And sometimes I just write with no capitals or anything. And I use typos. And sometimes I say, sorry, guys, very busy today, typos, whatever. Right? If you're sending out a marketing email, that would not be good enough. So that's just an example. Use your common sense, but don't have an overly high standard, which I suppose could be another point A, B, if you like. Don't have overly high standards of things that actually aren't that important. Number 9, really, really important. Having simplified, and I would suggest not before, and having ruthlessly prioritized what is really important and not before, you can outsource stuff or partner with people on it. If you start outsourcing stuff that is not high priority, you're going to end up spending money on stuff that doesn't matter to your business, and that is a very slippery slope. Don't do that. Also, if you've got an overly complex process and you try and outsource that, you're just going to magnify the complexity. Simplify first, but having done that and prioritize, if you still find you've got too much on your plate, and you probably will if your business is expanding in the way it should, then you're going to need to outsource. Again, that's a growing sign. It's a growing pain. That's not a negative point. Make sure you find good people. I think that's the top art of that. There's a whole load of arts around outsourcing. We did a very, very good interview recently with Nadine Eich of Enida. Check that out. It's on amazingfba.com/NADINEE, Nadine Eich. So check that out. But basically, find great people and have a simple, clear process. And that's an art that you'll develop over time. It is not an instant win, but it is a big, big win. They say, I think Chris Rawlings was a person who reminded me of this saying, but I've heard it before. Chris Rawlings, another fantastic podcast guest recently. If you want to go fast, do it on your own. But if you want to go far, work with a team. And I've actually been outsourcing or partnering with Rob Sleeth, who's my business partner, on the Amazon course. I mentioned the private label process, and that's been fantastically helpful. He's such an intelligent, well-organized guy. He's literally a rocket scientist. I mean, he has actually got a nuclear physics degree. So, and he did astrophysics, amongst which he did rocket science. So, you know, if you can find a really, really great partner that is worth its weight in gold, and then life starts to become much more manageable. And the last thing, once you've outsourced stuff that you're not going to do, but you've identified what's important, you simplified it, and it's yours, and it doesn't need to be eliminated or put off or given to somebody else, just work on your most important task, single task, do not multitask. Don't get distracted. Work on your most important task until it's done or can't be done any further that day. So let me make some notes here that's important. By the way, we will always have blog notes, show notes. We're going to be at amazingfba.com/275 for this one. If you single task on your most important task for the day and you get nothing else done that day, you've had a good day. So to put that in reverse, how do you find out what your most important task is? Well, just think ahead to the end of the day, and depending on how away from or towards motivated you are, you might think, well, what's going to make me feel really good when I get to the end of the day and go, I've nailed that? Or to put it another way, sometimes, you're going to get to the end of the day and go, damn, I didn't do X. That really gets up my nose. Okay, what is that thing? In which case, do it now. Hope that helps. These are, like all the stuff I give you, this isn't something I read in a book. I mean, I may have read some of this stuff in a book for sure, but this is tested in my life and that of my entrepreneurial friends and my entrepreneurial students and clients as well. So this is real life stuff. Hope it helps. These are certainly habits that help me, and it's very helpful to reiterate them to you. I'm inspiring myself, which is probably a good sign. Like all good stuff, it comes from other people really, and then I make it my own by experiencing it. But I'm no genius. I'm just the guy that gives you other people's ideas tested through my own life. I guess that's my role in your life. Hope it helps you. Thanks so much for listening. Speak to you soon.